Hello, Sunshine. Welcome back to another episode of HeartablazE podcast. And today we're going to do, I don't think it'll be a very long episode. Joy is still kind of hurting from my tooth extraction. Talked about it on, I think, one of my reels on Insta. Anyway, basically I had a cavity and took out the back molar, and it's been kind of a pain the whole time. It's only been a few days, so it's still in the process. I'm just hoping it didn't develop like dry socket or something, but I've got an appointment coming up. Anyway, that's besides the point. So for today, it would be nice if we talk about something very exciting for me, at least. I've never had a tattoo up until now, and I'm like turning 36 this week. But it's been a long time coming. I've been thinking about it for a very, very long time. And yeah, so I guess I'll start off by showing you what they are, and then I wanted to kind of talk about like the process of what happens when you want to do a custom tattoo like me, just so that you, in case you're like me, you had like maybe a rough idea of what like a tattooing process is like, but you don't know the entire procedure of like when you're getting a custom tattoo, like what it's really like, how it feels, especially around the areas that I chose, etc. It's an interesting experience. Anyway, I've got a big one and a small one, so this is the main one. And the other one is behind my ears on my right ear. Sorry, almost flipped you off just then. Anyway, so the idea was basically a compass and a bird flying. It's kind of representing freedom and not like losing a sense of direction in life, because there was a point where I was pretty lost in life. And yeah, that's just supposed to be serving as a reminder, and it's just the image that I really liked, and I really like that imagery. Really like wings in particular, to be honest. And you could probably recognize it's basically this design, my necklace on my ear, underneath my ear. It's very, when I got this necklace, it was also sort of around that time frame when I was like feeling not on the up and up, basically. And the sun motif in any possible way was very, very particular to me. And I was looking for this kind of necklace where it's a very short one paired with a long one. And I finally found it. And it happened to be this kind of design that really reminded me of the sun. So it meant a lot to me. So yeah, so that's why I really wanted to get one. I kind of want to get a moon to pair with it at some point on this side. Just think sun and moon, just, I don't know, has a lot of significance in my life, and I'm kind of a spiritual person, or becoming a little bit more spiritual. So yeah, I don't know, I believe in fate and stuff. So I think everything's in balance, yin and yang, all that kind of stuff. But particularly like sunflowers, sun, lunar moth, like these things are like little motifs that I really like, metaphors that I really like. Anyway, on to the experience. So I went to a place, shout out to the place, it's called Stoneheart Tattoo. I believe, yeah, Stoneheart. Yeah, Stoneheart in Darlinghurst area in near King's Cross in Sydney, Australia. Anyway, I was the last time I was there, I basically did my piercing years back, and when it came to the tattoo artist, I was just kind of like, well, I don't really know who to choose. And I looked at the portfolios, and I was just like, well, I just, no one's really doing particularly like the style that I'm doing. Like, I just had to pick someone that probably did more like black and white, and kind of like I feel most suitable to kind of the style. So I'm not pushing them to kind of do something that they're not really like specialized in or not really into. And I ended up with a guy who was really chatted, really cool, had some piercings, very stand-up guy, called Frog. Cool name. So basically what you usually do is for this place at least, I booked via email for an inquiry, sending out also like what it asks you like to upload pictures of references and what design you're looking for. And then essentially you're booking a consultation. Then once they respond, they kind of ask you to come in. So you organize the time so you can come in and then basically properly and thoroughly discuss your concept. And so that's what I did. I went in, sat on the bench, and he just came around. He was like, "Hey, man, nice to meet you." And, had a chat, talked about the design and kind of location. And I told him, I said, well, I was thinking originally, because I really wanted people to be able to see it more because it was a design I really liked. And I was saying that maybe I can put it on my palm. I mean, not my palm, on the back of my hands, on my right hand. And he was like immediately, "Ooh, I don't know about that because that's such a used area. You're flexing it a lot, constantly, nonstop. It's just skin is stretched around a lot in that area, so I really don't recommend like doing it there because one, it's an area that's difficult to kind of like tattoo over, and it tends to get distorted very, very easily, and you don't have a lot of space, so like the design's looking a little complex for that." And I was like, that's true, because originally I actually kind of wanted the sun and moon included in this design, on my arm here, which in the end I opted out not to because I thought I was going to do a sun and moon anyway, somewhere else anyway, and it just seemed like it was going to crowd the design and make it very difficult to kind of understand what was going on. And I agree. So I was like, oh yeah, and I'm pretty skinny. I was and looking at my hand, I was like, now that I think about it, I'm like, it's pretty bumpy. It's always been very veiny. I was like, I can't imagine that being looking too good for the design. So immediately opted out of that. And then I was like, well, second idea was I was going to do something on my arm, my like lower arm on this side. Anyways, I was like, maybe I'll pair it up and do this arm instead, which is a pretty general location for something like this kind of design. So I thought, and there was like a decent enough space. Definitely didn't want it on my legs or anything, or my neck or my chest. So I was just like, yeah, so let's do this arm. And he was like, would that space be big enough? And he was like, yeah, sure, that would be easy. So I was like, sweet. Um, and then he said, yeah, so that sounds good. He's like, and let's discuss the idea. And then we kind of like talked a little bit more about it. And he says, okay, so give me like sort of like a couple of days to kind of, 2 to 3 days to kind of work on it. I'll try and mock up a sketch. And then once I have it all sort of figured out on the tablet, then I'll send you a message with the attachment, and you can double check and kind of point me in the right direction if it's not in the right direction. And then, yeah, see if you like it, then we can proceed with the next step. It was really simple. He got it right pretty much straight away. And after a couple of days, I did get a text message with the 2 images attached. One was basically with sort of like mostly like the compass details, more like colored black. And then like this one's more the left out version, like the hollow version, I guess you could call it. I preferred the sort of lighter version. I just didn't like I felt like it was too heavy, and I really liked it this way. So I ended up with this particular design, which was good because it meant like a little bit less tattooing for the first time. Not that it was that painful, but we'll get to that. So then we organized it, but the first time I ended up having something come up, so I ended up having to postpone it 1 week. So it was only last. Oh, sorry about that. I ran out of storage because I forgot to delete my videos in my trash. When you delete stuff but then forget to delete them. Anyway, so basically I just did it last Saturday, so it's pretty fresh. It's like starting to itch like crazy. Yeah, so I went to the place after I booked in the session, and had a really busy day that day because it booked out to be 4 p.m. And then I kind of wanted to go out and get some stuff sorted, so I was running around the whole day. Then I had kind of like still 2 to 3 hours to kill, so I ended up going to Australian Museum, and then had a quick look, but then realized nothing was new, and I've already seen it pretty recently. So I was like, then I went to the cafe, which I haven't been to, went there, got an iced latte, which turned out to be pretty burnt coffee. But anyways, I digress. Then I sat down and had the very nice coffee, and took my time and played the new re-released Fire Red on my Switch. Pretty much for like the whole 2 or 3 hours until it was almost time, and then I kind of went there with like about 20 minutes left. And yeah, I showed up. It was pretty busy. It was a queue at the register, but then Frog was like finishing up someone's tattoo anyway. And then once he saw me, he was like, "Oh, come around, like sit down, take a seat, as I won't be long." So I went to sat on the bench instead. And then when he was ready, he came around. He was like, I basically saw him kind of preparing the space first before he came to greet me. So after the customer left, he basically redid the seats with the cling wrap, sanitized everything, throughout all the equipment and all the like covering of like the equipment that he was like using before, and then prepping like everything else. And then he was like, came over to greet me and I was like, "How are you, man?" And he was like, "Cool. So, bring your stuff over. I'll put it somewhere for you. Sit down." And then we kind of went over the design again, like to really finalize everything before he then kind of did a few sizes and then printed it out and then like on the stencil paper, then cut them up and then like was like, okay, so then mirror at the back, turn left. It was like, if you want to pick like maybe like, or if you want to try all the sizes, just take them over and just match them up on like the position in front of the mirror and see what size you're happy with. If not, like I can keep adjusting it. And it's pretty easy. There was like 4 sizes, and I went with sort of like the third biggest one, I think, for this design. And then this one came after once we were finished. And yeah, and then so we started the process pretty soon after that. He basically was like, "Cool, okay, give me a second. I'm going to prepare like some of the tools and like the ink and all that." And then he propped up a chair for me, which was nice because I just didn't really feel like lying down for this time. Thought it was going to be pretty awkward, so I thought that was a good position for it. So it was propped up sort of 45 degrees, and I leaned back. Well, before that, he was like, got me to stand up like next to him, and then kind of roll up my shirt, my sleeve, and so he rubbed some like solution on it to kind of clean the area, then like kind of give it a shave, even though I'm not hairy there, but this was like micro hair. Just shaved it and then like kind of gave that a clean again, and then got the pen ready, and then got the chair for me, got me to lay down, and then had a little extra prop for like a little sort of pad for my arm to kind of sit on the right angle. So I just relaxed it over there. So we got that ready. Then he pretty much started straight away, but he let me know first. He was like, "So, like, just to let you know, like, the sensation's going to be a bit like, kind of like, it was like a little bit like scratching. It was like, kind of like the way he described it, what was it? It was kind of like when you kind of fall on like concrete and it's like the moment you kind of graze your knee, like that kind of like contact sensation." And it was pretty accurate. It was definitely very similar to that. But not in a very, very strong way. Um, and especially in this position, I don't think it was, I think it was a pretty good starter's position. It just didn't really hurt that much, but it was enough to kind of make you feel the sensation and kind of grasp like if it was a bigger piece or a very few piece, how much it would hurt, which was a good preparation for this part to come. And this one was done pretty quickly, I'd say within 30 minutes. And once that was done, um, we moved on to the sun design, and basically he took a picture of this and he took out his tablet and he was doing it in front of me like the stencil. And he was originally just stopping to ask me whether I wanted like basically the little spikes to go all the way in, or was it more like a little bit out like the actual design, which I thought was softer edged, softer looking. So I like this a lot more. And I said, like, keep it, like, stick to that design because that's how I like it. And I said, and I like it filled up, just so it stands out a little bit more. And it's like too easy. Did that very quickly, printed out the designs and the different sizes. And we very quickly realized, well, there's not a lot of space. To be honest, the smaller size is probably going to be the one that we have to stick with. And I was like happy with that size anyway. I didn't want it like crazy big. So it turned out perfect, and then the position was pretty good. He did it for me and like asked me to double check again at the mirror once the stencil was up. So it's really good. This place is, they've always been very thorough and been very detailed with describing what's going on, or also like going through the process slowly, in a sense, in a very good way, so that you never feel like rushed or anything. And they're very respectful, they're very chill, and very, very friendly. Just a really cool place to be. So talented people, I get it now. Anyway, yeah, so this one I did ask him just before he started. I said like, "Oh, is it like going to be very different. And he said, like, I will say, he was like, this one might be like because of the area it is, and also because you're changing area on the same day. He said in the same session, your body's like adjusting the cortisol. I think it's the cortisol. It's going to, like, you're going to feel it a bit more than the first one. And I think the position definitely also didn't help as well. So when he was doing this one, I definitely felt more of like a sharp sting, like kind of like dragging and grazing, kind of like like a both sensations at the same time. So it was a little bit less pleasant, but it was definitely adjustable. And it was just like, because it was feeling it in, so it definitely felt a lot more like discomfort than this one. But luckily it's very small, so. But it does make me think, like, if I ever want like a huge design like other people, that's like really colored in and stuff, I was like, that I've really got to be prepared for that. And I can understand why they say, one of the tips that I noticed when I saw a video, which I'm glad I did, was basically make sure you eat and hydrate really well before sessions, just because like you could get like, I guess, like a spike or something, or like a drop in sugar levels, and it might just make you like really queasy and sort of want to pass out and stuff. I guess because you're kind of losing blood as well. But correct me if I'm wrong, but like basically like it's important to eat well, and hydrate well before you actually do your session. And I noticed that, like, because I was keeping my phone away, and chatting with him, but I also didn't want to disrupt him too much during the session. So when he was inking, I was kind of also like looking around, and I saw the guy next to me on this side. When they were taking a break, he got up, stretched around a bit, and then he was having like soft drink and like candy. I mean, that could be just, maybe it's just personal preference, but it looked like he was probably trying to like bring his sugar levels up as well. Maybe, I'm guessing. So I don't know. Let me know if you feel like more experience with tattoo, or if you're a tattoo artist, just like leave in the comments and let me know a bit more detail, because it's interesting to me. And then, yeah, there was another guy on this side, which I was kind of watching as well. He was doing a huge piece on top of like a lot of tattoos he already had, and there were colored pieces too. It looked like there was a lot of blood. I was like, that's a huge smear of red. I was like, is that the color that he's doing, or is that all his blood coming out? So that was something to see. That was really cool. And we talked about like random stuff, and I was asking him like, what's the weirdest position? What did he even say about that? Oh yeah, it was funny. He said the hardest position is people who are, a little bit more heavy set. He says like when there's folds and stuff, that's really hard to get into. And he says the weirdest thing he gets asked a lot about is usually people saying like, yeah, do you get to like tattoo like dicks and like tits and stuff? And he's just like, yeah, but not in the way you think about it. He was like, and that's really not that cool. And he was like, it's actually really, really kind of on the less appealing side, and it's really annoying. It's like a lot, like it's hard to deal with. And he says like, there's just sometimes he just kind of looks at it and he's just kind of like, I don't really want to do this, to be honest. Yeah, and I can't imagine that being very fun, just thinking about it. But yeah, tattoo artists definitely do all sorts of tattooing. What else? Oh yeah, I talked about, I remember this story, which I think would be fun to share. So I usually go by Uber now, but the last time when I actually like hailed a taxi, I can't remember if I booked it or if I got it off the road, but this was like many years back. And it's like the only time I got hit on, which was like really, really sad. I'm like, I'd rather not be hit on at all if this is like what I get. But basically, it was like a older, I think Middle Eastern-ish guy, but he had like very creepy kind of sus vibes. And he was just asking about like, oh, so do you have a girlfriend? And I was like, no, I'm going into the boys. And he was like, so you're gay? It's like, you like boys? And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, oh, and he's driving and he's kind of like asking all these questions, kind of like, top upon, kind of like intrusive much. But then at one point, what was really weird was, I'm trying to show on camera because it's kind of gross, but he basically kind of like went like this and like kind of pushed down on his private area and was like, oh, sorry, got kind of hard. And I was just like, TMI. And he was like, It was like, oh, like we got to the location. I was already feeling. We're pretty close to the place. I'll probably just get off. And then luckily we arrived, and then I was like, oh yeah, cool. And then I was like getting out, and he was like, oh, okay, well maybe I'll see you around. And I was just like, maybe not. And he closed the door because I'm socially awkward, and that just really made it not easy for me at all. But yeah, I'm glad I've never met that guy again. But yeah, closet case, I guess. But yeah, it was weird. But yeah, he enjoyed that story as well. He was just like, "That's crazy." Anyway, so after KOYs, he basically wrapped it up in like the clear sort of like film kind of bandaging, and then it was much easier than I expected. I thought there was going to be a lot of things going on, but so he put that one on as well. I think this one he didn't put a bandage because it's too small and it's in a weird area, so he just rubbed like the cream over it, and then gave me some of the cream. I said afterwards, when you go home, when you're having a shower, you can just run some water over it and then just kind of like peel it off. And he said, just use some of the cream, but generally just pay attention the next few days. He's like, just try not to scratch or pick at it. It's like it does kind of get itchy sometimes. He's like, and he showed me an example on his arm. There's like a very small piece and a very big piece of art, which kind of gets lost, so you don't really like notice it. But he said like, like for a piece like yours, it'll be a bit more noticeable. But for something like this, like he's like basically when it was healing, it was scabbing, and I kind of picked at it, and then the piece came off, and then now you can see this chunk. It's like obviously you can come back if that happens. It's like, but it's obviously better if it doesn't. It's like, but if it does, it's like don't worry, come back and we'll touch it up for free, which is awesome. Because it's not even like about like and I think like it's kind of like a itch like when you get a little bug bite. It's not like I've got a huge rash kind of bug bite. So it's like just something you kind of naturally want to go like give it like a quick little touch or a little scratch. So it's like really easy to kind of forget, especially this one. I don't know why I keep forgetting that I've done this one, which I feel really bad. So like there was one moment where luckily I put the cream on because that really quickly reminded me something was there. And I was like laying in bed and I just went watching videos on my phone, and I just went quickly scratched it for 1 second. I was just like, holy shit, because I can feel the texture of it and I could feel the cream, and I was just like, no. I was like, that's my tattoo. So I went to the bathroom, checked on it, make sure like I didn't like scratch off like the design or something. So far it's definitely itching a bit, on and off, but like it makes itself known. I'm hoping it'll heal fast within the next couple of days, so I can like completely like disregard, like not have to like deal with the itching and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much the tattoo experience. I have another design I really want to do, but I might hold off for a little while until like these ones are actually properly healed, and then sort of think about it. Also because it's not like cheap. But oh yeah, so price wise, it came to the two designs. It came to about $326, I believe, around that price range. So it's a pretty good price for like two designs and a pretty decent big one here, and it's custom too. So I'd say it's pretty good. It's kind of like something that I was expecting, wasn't like more than that. But yeah, that's my tattoo experience. And what do you guys think about my tattoo? Do you like it? Does it suit me? Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.